Hulk Hogan, Sergeant Slaughter, the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. Talk about a blast from the past. If you were a kid who grew up in the 1980s and early 1990s, these would have been the wrestling superheroes and villains you loved to cheer and loved to boo. Also, if you were a kid from this time period, you will have no doubt have been wowed by the amazing gameplay and incredible graphics of the LCD video games from Tiger or the Game & Watch games from Nintendo. So, imagine if you threw the worlds of the World Wrestling Federation together with a Tiger LCD game. What would you get? Well, you'd get something exactly like the subject of today's discussion. You'd get WWF Superstars. It's time we look back at one of the earliest of all WWE wrestling video games from the year 1990, whilst the WWE was still the humble WWF, World Wrestling Federation. Just looking at the LCD game, which frankly is only about as powerful and about as capable as a digital watch, this thing is huge. Clearly, its design is inspired by the WWF Superstars arcade game, which, if you didn't know, was the arcade game that came out before the more famous WWF Wrestlefest. The LCD game is big, but it is comfortable to hold, and it is designed almost to be fixed like a clamshell-like design. So this would be similar to if you had a multi-screen Game & Watch title, or later if you were holding a Nintendo DS. The angle of the screen is slightly different to the angle in which you hold and press the buttons. The device is also built so if you wanted to, you could set this thing down as a tabletop arcade game and just tap the buttons that way, rather than hold it like it was a handheld console. The front of the game is very much like an arcade cabinet, with artwork of the heel wrestlers lined up to the right and the playable Hulk Hogan to the left. Getting on to the actual game, as that's what we're here for after all, the game shows a flat colour picture of a WWF ring, which is the backdrop to all the action. Then the LCD displays shows ink-like outline style graphics of the wrestlers and the heads-up display. In the game you play as Hulk Hogan, and you cannot move him about the ring. Literally, at all. Now, it may look like there is a D-pad on the left of the device, but they are 4 separated buttons. There is up and down, but these don't actually move you across the ring, but you can use the up button to get you to the top rope, but you just suddenly appear there. You don't actually move around to dodge your opponent. The left button is marked as escape, and the right one as push. There are also 2 action buttons on the right hand side of the device, and they are grab and kick stroke attack. For the most part, you'll probably be mashing the kick button against early opponents, but you can actually get a few different moves done by grabbing an opponent as well. As well as kicks, you can pull off a suplex, climb the top rope and hit that superfly splash, or just a splash off the top rope, which I'm not sure if Hulk Hogan ever did, but he can do it in this. You can throw your opponent out of the ring, and you can pin for the 1, 2 and 3. But that's just about it. At the top of the screen you'll see how much energy you and your opponent have, and the tougher the opponent you go against, you may notice that their energy regenerates back, so you'll have to pull off bigger moves quickly to take them down. In terms of different opponents, you see a fairly good drawing of the face of each of the heels along the top as you wrestle them. Now, if you don't know what I mean by heel is the term given to a bad guy wrestler. Now, the bad news is that although the character design of Hulk Hogan is reasonable, the artwork of the heels, when you actually wrestle them, remains the same no matter who you wrestle. At the top of the screen you'll see a good illustration of them, but the actual guy you're fighting in the ring always is the same. This is made instantly noticeable for the fact that your first opponent is Earthquake, who was 450 pounds plus. The artwork makes him look like a modern-day cruiserweight, and he's not wearing his signature costume. Of all of the opponents you face, the character looks most like the $1 Million Man, just as he's in trunks. So maybe they should have made him so that that's the opponent you go against first, but then you'd probably think it's glitched and you're going against Ted DiBiase instead of Earthquake the next time. Who knows? It kind of could pass as Mr. Perfect, except for it's definitely brunette instead of Mr. Perfect's golden locks, and it most definitely doesn't look like The Undertaker or Sergeant Slaughter. So, regardless of whether you are fighting against the super heavyweight Earthquake, the 6'10" Undertaker, or the balding Sergeant Slaughter, everyone looks the same. This is because as an LCD game, there couldn't be different designs that take up the same space on the screen. So that's why you only get individual artwork of each wrestler at the top of the screen and not individual artwork of them on the screen. Matches are repetitive, and you will find that you have to mash the buttons harder and harder as the game goes on, but there is a strategy you can put to it all. Getting the grapples will allow you to suplex the heels and sometimes throw them out of the ring, and that sets up your best chance to end the match. You could also go for the count out throwing them out, but to be honest, the true champions amongst us will want to score the pinfall in the centre of the mat. Despite how basic the game is, and I can say it is fairly basic, I can also say I actually had a blast playing it. I haven't touched my LCD games collection in God knows how many years, but I really got into them recently. This is one game that you can effectively finish, that once you've beaten all of the opponents, that's it, you're the champion, but many are just those type of games where you get a high score over and over, so it's nice as a change that you can actually feel you've completed this game. Now, it's been cool to see certain Tiger LCD games make a modern comeback, but I don't expect that WWF Superstars will be one of them. Wrestling games are always limited by the licenses of who makes them. In this case, it's Tiger, and a version of them is still around if they're owned by Hasbro or whoever. But this having the old WWF logo, they could change it to WWE, but then they'd also need to have a deal so that it's got Hulk Hogan and Slaughter and Taker and Earthquake, Mr. Perfect, etc, etc, and they could do it, but to be honest, it's very unlikely they'll ever re-release this one. I would say if you want some retro LCD wrestling fun, this is definitely a winner. There's a few other like WCW or maybe like a WWF Superstars watch you can get. I think the WCW LCD games are actually like embedded into like a tall Sting figure or a Hollywood Hulk Hogan figure. So maybe we'll check one of those out in a later video. Anyway, that's going to wrap things up here. I hope you enjoyed this video. You should definitely check out the other videos I've got on the channel. I mostly focus on retro-themed gaming stuff, but I'm slightly expanding with more documentaries and some stuff about some modern stuff as well. So please do us a favour, smash that subscribe button, click the like, leave a comment, just, let the world know that you've checked this out and what you would like me to see, what you would like to see me do next, if I can get that out. And until next time, ciao for now. Boom, and we're off the air.